It's thought that about 250,000 people in the UK suffer from ME, or myalgic encephalomyelitis. It's an illness largely invisible, I suppose, to the outside world, but people who have it talk about a range of symptoms from constant physical fatigue to memory loss and a mental lethargy that is an obvious follow-on from all the rest of the symptoms. And people with ME often feel that the rest of the world just sees them as lazy. Debbie Deboo lives in County Antrim. She's a former teacher who was forced to give it up when she was diagnosed with ME, and she started her own business making glamorous walking sticks and crutches. I'm delighted to say she joins me now. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You feel very passionately about this.
Yes. I think one of the main things for me is the way that ME is misunderstood. For one thing, a lot of people confuse it with chronic fatigue syndrome, and they're both completely different illnesses. And
they're often lumped together. When you look up one, there's quite a lot of information available on the others.
Oh, well, there is a lot of interlapping of symptoms, but unfortunately, because we are lumped together, we get treated in the same way as patients with CFS might be treated, and we shouldn't be, because the treatment that's given to CFS patients is actually making ME patients very ill, and that needs to be changed. For example, we're given psychoanalysis, gosh, I can't speak properly, antidepressants, we're told to do graded exercise, and all these things are not helping us. I mean, cognitive behaviour therapy can be beneficial. I mean, it can help us manage our illness, but it is not a cure for ME. And graded exercise therapy only makes patients worse. I mean, I have a friend who was told to do that, and she resisted it, and actually went forward with it. And she ended up bedbound, tube-fed, temporarily blind for several months. And she's come out of that, and she's able to sit up in bed and have some form of life again. But she is absolutely passionate about do not do graded exercise therapy. Mm-hmm. And that is what a lot of us are being forced to do, because we don't know any better. We're not told, we trust our doctors, we trust the specialists, but we've been treated in the wrong way for ME.
So why is that?
It's because there's not enough research being done into ME, partly because there is this idea that it's in your head, maybe, it's you've got some kind of stress that's made you ill. I mean, stress can make you ill, but I think the idea is that, well, they're not putting the research into looking for a cause for ME. They think it's in our head, so they're just paying psychologists and psychiatrists, so they're not doing the research into finding out what has caused ME, the physical cause of ME, and that's what we should be looking for.
So how does that feel as someone who has ME and has been diagnosed with ME, when you present yourself to a doctor or you say, I've got ME, that even the medical community is kind of not reluctant to acknowledge that there is such a condition, but they're not as clear about what it actually is and how it affects you as it would be if you had another illness.
Yeah, I think a lot of them don't know what it is. I mean, I've had several conversations with doctors, and they keep saying CFS, and I keep saying, I haven't got CFS. We stop saying that. I've got ME, and also, I think, sorry, can you just ask the question again?
How do people feel who have ME that the world,
we feel frustrated.
The rest of society doesn't take it as seriously as
we feel very frustrated, because we are actually very, very ill. I mean, if you take one of my typical days, I'll talk a little bit about something called the spoon theory. A lady called Christine was trying to talk about how her illness affected her, and she couldn't really describe it. So she was in a restaurant, and she had lots of spoons around her, and she picked them up, and she had a handful, and she said, look, there's 10 spoons there. Imagine those spoons are my units of energy for the day. And she said, I get up, and that's one spoon taken away. I have a shower, that's another spoon taken away. I have my breakfast, that's 3. I've got 7 spoons left for the day. How do I use them? So our days are very, very difficult to get through. I mean, she had 10 spoons. I might only have 5 spoons that day, and I have to figure out how to use them. And we get very frustrated. For example, if we're asked to go to see a specialist, I was kept waiting for an hour yesterday, and we're kept waiting. We're very, very ill. We're not taken seriously. We're told to go and take blood tests, come back in 6 months. We've gone through all this for nothing. And they make, we're very ill. We're not taken seriously. We're very frustrated that people don't take us seriously, because, we have to go through the benefit system or whatever, prove that we're ill, and then they say, oh, you're not ill enough for, benefits. And if there was a proper test, if they did the research, if they could show, that we are seriously ill, then maybe society would take it seriously.
But there isn't a test, and there isn't a definitive
No,
cure.
And that's because they won't do the research. They're just paying psychiatrists and psychologists and giving us antidepressants. They need to do the proper research. We need it. There are people out there committing suicide. There are people out there seriously ill. There are people out there who are housebound, and there's an army of us out there who need this help, and, we're not getting it.
I'm talking to Debbie Deboo. You're listening to the Saturday magazine on BBC Radio Ulster. Debbie's going to stay with us. Contact us if you have ME yourself, if you know someone who has, if you have some experience of it. 08459 555 678 is the number. 81771 on the text. That's 08459 555 678 or 81771. We'll be talking to Debbie after this. You're listening to the Saturday magazine. It's 19 minutes past 10. John Toll here with you until 12 o'clock today. I'm talking to Debbie Deboo, who has ME, and she's very passionate, feels that, she's been talking about the frustration that ME sufferers feel that their illness isn't taken seriously enough by wider society. Your own story is an interesting story because you were a teacher.
Yes, that's right. I gave up teaching 10 years ago once I was diagnosed with ME, but beforehand I was very active. I had a very active social life. I was kind of known as the unofficial party organiser, really, because I was always organising social events, and me and my husband went to festivals all the time. We loved music. All that ended when I got ill, and it has been quite difficult for me and my husband. I mean, he's been my rock, Richard has, but we've had to end the life that we had before together. And
how did it first show itself? How did you...
Well, I had glandular fever. I was diagnosed with glandular fever, and I'd had glandular fever before, about 4 years previously, and I'd been ill for about 3 months, and I got over it. But this time I didn't get over it, and I was getting worse and worse and worse, and I was in a lot of pain. I stopped being able to walk very far. Extreme exhaustion, IBS, and lots and lots of symptoms. I mean, some of the symptoms are things like you can't actually cope with noise and sound. So just going to the supermarket makes you very, very ill. Even in a wheelchair, going out makes you ill because of the noise around you. Even going in a car makes you ill. I don't know why the car makes you ill, but just travelling, I don't know what it is, vibrations, I don't know, but it seems that everything makes you ill and people don't realise it. I mean, when people come and visit me, I really, really make an effort, so I look happy, they're very good. They don't stay for long because they know I get tired. Once they've gone, I'm collapsed on the sofa.
And that has a knock-on then for your mental health,
apart
from your physical health.
Well, absolutely. I mean, people with ME are not depressed, but they get depressed if you know if you understand the difference. And I find that a little bit annoying when we're given antidepressants and things, because we don't want antidepressants. We want a cure for ME. We get depressed because we're ill. We're not depressed because we suffer from depression. And it is very difficult. I mean, the mental effects as well are the lack of concentration. I used to be a teacher, so I was academic. Now I can't spell words. I go on the internet and I make the most dreadful typos that I never made before. And I find that quite embarrassing, having high academic standards and words. I get mixed up with words, and I and sometimes I can't remember things. I let people down. I don't reply to emails, and I do feel quite useless. And I did read a report recently that compared mid-stage, well, quite severe ME to mid-stage Alzheimer's, and that is serious, really.
Yeah.
And feeling your brain going is very, very frightening, very, very frightening, because I don't know how to describe it.
It's how you've experienced the world.
Yeah.
You use your brain to experience the world, be it through sense or smell or sight or whatever. So if bits of that start to not work,
and when you're only, you feel young. I mean, I'm 44. I don't know, that's not exactly young, but
it's young. It's young.
Yeah, it's young. And then there's people younger than me, though, a lot younger, who are suffering from ME and suffering from the same symptoms. I mean, I know people, young people, teenagers, and they need a cure. They can't go through this the rest of their lives. They need a cure. I feel the last 10 years of my life, in some ways, have been lost. I don't want that to happen to young people who have to go to the next 40 years with this.
We've got a caller on the line. Elizabeth has called us. Good morning to you, Elizabeth.
Morning.
If you stick on those headphones, Debbie, you'll be able to hear Elizabeth as well. So tell me your story, Elizabeth.
Well, my story was that when I was a child, I had asthma, and there was nothing like there is for asthma then as there is now, but it was always regarded as in your head, except in our family who knew what it was. And I was very fortunate, had a good GP who also knew what it was. When I was going into nursing when I was 18, my GP said to me, "Now, Elizabeth, whatever you do, if they ask you if you have any chest problems, the answer is no. I will look after your asthma." And I wasn't long in nursing till I realised the reason. Because asthma was always supposed to be in your head then. And you see the link up between that and ME?
There's quite a change in that now.
Yeah. No, there's a big change in the asthma.
Mm-hmm.
It changed in my working day. But nevertheless, ME's been looked at in the exact same way as the person's imagination or something.
Yeah.
And what this lady's saying, psychiatric.
Good point, Elizabeth. Thanks for your call this morning.
Just to show you, the time will change and someone will do research and get it sorted.
Thanks for your call, Elizabeth.
Okay.
All the best.
Right, you are.
Bye-bye now. And we've had a lot of texts as well. Someone else saying, I've been living with ME for over 20 years, always feeling tired and never to do anything. It's like having the flu every day and affects every part of the body. Someone else saying, I don't have ME, but due to ongoing intense stress for the past 2 years, I've been so tired. It's not just tired, it's pure exhaustion, where my muscles hurt and walking up and down stairs takes a lot out of me. My husband says I don't exercise and I'm just lazy. But I'm not. I work with the kids. I do gardening. It's very frustrating when people don't understand. So a lot of people out there sharing the frustration that you feel, Debbie.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, what that person said about having flu, it's like, you know, if I go on Facebook and somebody's got flu, oh gosh, I'm dying and all that. And that is how we feel every day. And I sympathise when they've got flu. It's horrible. But, you know, if I sort of say more than several times, I'm having an awful day and, you know, things like that, I do notice a few comments come in about, wish certain people would stop moaning about how ill they feel and so on. I wish, you know, they would do something with their lives instead of moaning, which really infuriated me because I did set up my own business, as you know.
Absolutely, and this was glam sticks.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
idea being that why just have a crutch or a walking stick that looks ordinary when you can decorate it and make it something beautiful?
Absolutely. I mean, I was quite depressed at the grey crutches that I had, and when I decorated them, I noticed that people were smiling at me and talking at me instead of like looking the other way, which they tend to do with disabled people. And a few people said, well, why don't you make them for other people? Which I did, and it took off, and it really took off. I had some celeb clients, and Kelly Marie Stewart,
from
Heather Mills
Hollyoaks.
McCartney, yeah, she's from Hollyoaks, and DJ Blind Mikey, who was in Big Brother, and you know, and it really, really took off. Unfortunately, ME, of course, got in the way, and because it got so successful, it became too much for me. And very, very recently, I had to make the very, very difficult decision to sell the business, which was a really, really hard thing for me to do because it was helping me as much as I was helping other people. I wasn't really doing it for profit because I wasn't making any money out of it. But people were writing to me saying how much I'd helped them, I'd empowered them, I'd given them a bit of glam in their life. And when they were writing to me, that was getting me out of some of the deep depressions that I was in over being ill.
So how difficult was it then to come to the decision that you know, as a kind of an advocate of this idea that, you know, ME isn't about lazy people. You packed in the teaching, you'd started your own business, you were doing all this to finally have to say, I have to give this up.
I know.
That must have been incredibly
I did feel very
difficult.
defeated, yeah. And what I've tried to do is try to be very positive about it and talk about one door closing, another one opening, and talking about doing something less. I mean, it did become very successful. I won Mobility Product of the Year last year, so that's how successful it was. You know, and but it was too much, and so I'm trying to say to myself, I will do something else, but it won't be as stressful, it won't be as hard work. I've got to understand my limits, and ME does give you limits, you know. So,
and the move, then you moved over here as well.
Yeah,
you're living in County Antrim, out in the country.
It's lovely,
fresh air, all
absolutely.
That kind of thing. But even that move, and even coming in here today, probably it takes a lot out of you.
That was very stressful, the move. But I've moved here, hopefully for benefits for my health. I do live in a lovely countryside with a lovely garden. I'm really, really hoping it's going to help my health. I'm very happy here. I love it here. So it's a great move. Yeah, it's great. So, yeah.
So what's next?
I'm putting together a vegan recipe book. So that's one little project, you know. I'm taking up some photography. I can't sit still, unfortunately, for my ME. It does make me worse doing all these things. I'm not very good at pacing myself. But, you know, people with ME tend to be dedicated, hardworking people who are passionate about things. That's possibly, you know, some of the reasons why they're ill, because, you know, they've got this virus and the virus has attacked them because they've got run down through working too hard. We're not lazy people. Absolutely not lazy. We're hard workers, passionate about what we believe in. And lots of us are full of restless intelligence. We want to do things, and that's why it's frustrating when we get called lazy, because we're not. Anybody with ME, that's the last thing we are. We want to be out there doing things, and we want a cure, and we want the medical profession to put their money where it's going to work into finding a cure for ME, not psychiatrists, not antidepressants, not graded exercise. And That's it, really.
Debbie, you're an inspiration. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time. If you want more information, you can go to the website of the ME Association, and the web address is meassociation.org.uk. That's meassociation.org.uk. Failing that, the BBC website has a whole section with links to various organisations which can offer you advice and help. And we've had a couple of calls as well. Joan actually says she runs a support group for ME patients, and we work hard to get an ME specialist over here. She's based in Newry, and we've the number here for the Newry and Mourne support group if you want to give us a call here on 08459 555 678. That's 08459 555 678. And Frank in Oma contacts us as well and says, I've had ME for 15 years. I've tried everything to get rid of it without success. Debbie, thank you for coming in. Thanks for your time, and good luck with it.
Thanks very much.
Debbie Deboo, you're listening to the Saturday magazine, and it's 29 minutes past 10.